निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, Hare Krishna. So we see the final departure of Dhritarashtra, and Yudhishthira Maharaj is being pacified by Narad Muni, who was very much aggrieved on coming to know that how Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Vidur, they all left. So at that time, we saw that Narad Muni arrives and he consoles and pacifies, and he is foretelling that how Dhritarashtra will achieve perfection by the process of following the Ashtanga Yoga, the mystical process. O king, he will quit his body most probably on the 5th day from today, and his body will turn to ashes. So if Yudhishthira Maharaj had a plan to go and recall Dhritarashtra, Narad Muni is neutralizing that aspect. He's saying that if you are thinking that you can go and bring him back, forget it. On the 5th day, he will quit his body. Then the question may be that if he quits his body, who will provide the funeral? As the only surviving family member, it is the duty of the eldest son or the eldest member to go and give the last rites. Who will provide the funeral? So that also Narad Muni is negating and saying, no need for you to go and try to either retrieve him or to perform his rite, because his body will turn to ashes. That means the fire will emanate from himself. And there is no need of funeral rites. Narad Muni's prophecy prohibited Yudhishthira Maharaj from going to the place where his uncle was staying. Because after quitting the body by his own mystic path, Dhritarashtra would not be in need of any funeral ceremony. Narad Muni indicated that his body itself would burn to ashes. This is how he will end his life. The perfection of the yoga system is attained by such mystic power. The yogi is able to quit his body by his own choice of time and can attain any planet he desires by turning the present body into ashes by self-made fire. These are some of the feats of mystic yoga. Dahyamana agnibirdehe patyupatni sahotaje bahistita patim sadbhi tamagnim anuvekshati. While outside observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. So by the perfection of the mystic yoga practices, Maharaj Dhritarashtra will be able to ignite the fire which will come from within, and that will be sufficient to for his body would burn to ashes. And Gandhari, the chaste wife, will also enter that fire. Gandhari was an ideal chaste lady, a life companion of her husband. And therefore, when she saw her husband burning in the fire of mystic yoga along with the cottage of leaves, she despaired. She left home after losing her 100 sons, and in the forest she saw that her most beloved husband was also burning. Now she actually felt alone, and therefore she entered the fire of her husband and followed her husband to death. This entering of a chaste lady into the fire of her dead husband is called the sati rite, and the action is considered to be most perfect for a woman. In the later age, the sati rite became an obnoxious criminal affair because the ceremony was forced upon even an unwilling woman. In this fallen age, it is not possible for any lady to follow the sati rite as chastely as it was done by Gandhari and other in the past age. A chaste wife like Gandhari would feel the separation of her husband to be more burning than actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily, and there is no criminal force by anyone. When the rite becomes a formality only, and force was applied upon a lady to follow the principle mutually, it became criminal, and therefore the ceremony was stopped by state law. This prophecy of Narad Muni to Maharaj Yudhishthir forbade him to go to his widowed aunt. So Maharaj Yudhishthir, out of his compassion, out of his affection, out of his gratitude and kindness, he would be considering that maybe my uncle and aunt who are very old and invalid, they have left, but it is my duty to call them back. And even if I'm not able to call them back, and even if they leave their body, it is my duty to perform the last rites. But there is no need. Here, Narad Muni is explaining for you neither to go to them, not to approach them, not to think of bringing them back, nor there is a need for you to perform last rites. Vidarastu tad ascharya nishamya kurunandana harsha shoka yutastasmat ganta tirtha nisevaka. Vidura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave for sacred places of pilgrimage. So here it is not mentioned that Yudhirji also will, take to the Ashtanga Yoga process or he will terminate his life. He will proceed for the places of pilgrimage. What is the purpose? Purpose is Vidurji coming is to Hastinapur is only to deliver Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. And when the mission is completed, he proceeds further on his pilgrimage. Vidura was astonished to see the marvelous departure of his brother Dhritarashtra as a liberated yogi, for in his past life he was very much attached to materialism. Of course, it was only due to Vidur that his brother attained the desirable goal of life. Vidur was therefore glad to learn about it, but he was sorry that he could not make his brother turn into a pure devotee. This was not done by Vidur because of Dhritarashtra being inimical to the Pandavas. It's a very important point. Initially also we discussed that why Dhritarashtra is not considered the pure devotee. Although he was given a chance to be delivered, but he could only enter into the, which planet it was mentioned, who remembers? Which planet he could enter? Dhritarashtra? How far was Dhritarashtra reach in the spiritual sky? We discussed when in the opening we were reading, this point came out that Dhritarashtra could not enter. No one remembers. Hmm. I will not tell the answer. You have to find out. Let us make an attempt to find out. Where did he enter? He did not go to the topmost planet. Why? Why he could not go to the topmost planet even after being recommended by the greatest pure devotee? Because he was inimical to the Pandavas, who were all devotees of the Lord. An offense at the feet of Vaishnava is more dangerous than an offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. An offense at the feet of the Lord is easily excused by the Lord. But an offense at the feet of the devotee is never excused by the Lord. Vidura was certainly liberal. Can you give some examples? That an offense at the feet of the Lord is easily excused by the Lord. But an offense at the feet of the devotee is never excused by the Lord. You know this principle, no? तुम स्थाने अपराधे तारे हरि नाम. No, sorry. हरि स्थाने अपराधे तारे हरि नाम. तुम स्थाने अपराधे नाहि परित्राण. That if one commits an offense towards the Supreme Lord, he can be delivered by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But if one commits offense to the Vaishnava, then there is no possibility. Yes. रम्या, आपने हाथ उठाया था, क्या एग्जाम्पल है बताइए।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, दुर्वासा मुनि और अम्बरीश महाराज एग्जाम्पल था।
यस। तो दुर्वासा मुनि ने भगवान को कहाँ ऑफेंड किया था? किया था क्या? और भगवान ने माफ कर दिया? तो और सोचिए, बताइए कहाँ।
प्रभु जी, एक बार भृगु मुनि ने भगवान के छाती पे लात मारा था।
हाँ, लेकिन भगवान ने उनको एक्सक्यूज कर दिया था। वो ठीक है, लेकिन हम दुर्वासा, एक पार्ट दुर्वासा का एक पार्ट भृगु का, और दोनों को मर्ज करके कहेंगे कि ये स्टोरी पूरा हो गया, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा। और बोलिए किधर। श्रीवास ठाकुर और गोपाल चप्पल, सुना है आपने गोपाल चप्पल? गोपाल चप्पल रिलेटिव थे चैतन्य महाप्रभु के, लेकिन वो श्रीवास ठाकुर से बहुत ईर्ष्या करते थे, और महाप्रभु के आविर्भाव से पूर्व भी उन्होंने श्रीवास ठाकुर को डिफेम करने के लिए वो सब दुर्गा का पैराफेनेलिया रख दिया। और क्या हुआ जब महाप्रभु, उनको कोढ़ का रोग हो गया, तो जब महाप्रभु आए तो गोपाल चप्पल उनके पैर में गिर गए और बोले कि आप तो मेरे रिलेटिव हो, आप सबको दया कर रहे हो, मुझे भी करो, मुझे क्यों नहीं कर रहे? वाई एम आई सफरिंग? एंड व्हाट डिड महाप्रभु से? दैट यू रास्कल, आई एम गोइंग टू मेक यू सफर फॉर इटर्निटी। सारे आचार्य बोल रहे हैं, अरे महाप्रभु तो महावदान्य है, ये क्या हो रहा है? यू हैव कम टू गिव मर्सी, व्हाई यू आर किकिंग एंड कर्सिंग? Because he was very annoyed, because Gopal Chappal had committed offense against Shivas Thakur. This is one example. What are the others? There are so many examples in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, Ramya?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, that Nawab Ramakrishna Khan made an offense against Haridas Thakur.
Yes. तो महाप्रभु ने उसको पनिश किया?
जी प्रभु जी, वो एक बार गुरु महाराज बता रहे थे, मुझे पूरा स्टोरी याद नहीं आ रहा है। और नित्यानंद प्रभु ने कुछ किया था और उसने वो काव का मीट खाया, ऐसा कुछ था प्रभु जी, मुझे याद नहीं आया पूरा।
वो जिसने महाप्रभु ने, वो डिफरेंट है, वो ये डिफरेंट कंटेक्स्ट में कह रहे हैं। हाँ, वो जो वैष्णव नहीं थे, उन्होंने महाप्रभु का अनादर किया, तो वहां पे मुस्लिम गवर्नर आया, उनके घर में ठहरा, और वहां उसने क्या किया कि काव को काटा और उसका मांस पकाया और खुद खाया। वो अलग स्टोरी है। यहाँ जो हम प्रिंसिपल कर रहे हैं डिस्कस, कि टू ऑफेंड, किसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बोल रहे हैं? धृतराष्ट्र का। एंड ही वाज वेरी ऑफेंसिव टुवर्ड्स द पांडवस। बोलिए दयाशील प्रभु।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, regarding Jagai and Madhai Prabhuji, they offended Lord Nityananda.
Yeah.
So Lord Chaitanya wanted to kill them.
Yes. He invoked the Sudarshan Chakra. And Nityananda said, what are you doing? In this avatar, you are not supposed to kill. You are supposed to only give mercy. How can you kill? But Mahaprabhu was very enriched. Also with Devanand Pandit. Because Devanand Pandit, he and his followers had committed offense against Srivas Thakur. And Mahaprabhu chastised him very heavily. This principle is very important. If we displease, if we commit offense at the lotus feet of a devotee of the Lord, a Vaishnava, is more dangerous than an offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. An offense at the lotus feet of the Lord is easily excused by the Lord, but an offense at the feet of a devotee is never excused by the Lord. Vidura was certainly very liberal to bestow mercy upon his brother Dhritarashtra, whose past life was very materialistic. But ultimately, the result of such mercy certainly depended on the will of the Supreme Lord. In the present life, therefore, Dhritarashtra attained liberation only. And after many liberated state of life, one can attain the stage of devotional service. Vidur was certainly very mortified by the death of his brother and sister-in-law. And the only remedy to mitigate such lamentation was to go on pilgrimage. Thus, Maharaj Yudhishthir had no chance to call back Vidura, his surviving uncle. Iti uktva atha aruhat Iti uktva atha aruhat swargam Naradasa tamburu Yudhishthiro vachastasya Hrivi kritva ajahat sucha. Having spoken thus, the great sage Narad along with his Veena ascended into outer space. Yudhishthir kept his instructions in his heart and was so able to get rid of all lamentations. So Shri Narad Ji is an eternal spaceman, having been endowed with spiritual body by the grace of the Lord. He can travel in the outer spaces of both the material and spiritual world without restriction and can approach any planet in unlimited space within no time. We have already discussed his previous life as the son of maidservant. Because of his association with pure devotees, he was elevated to the position of the eternal spaceman and thus has freedom of movement. One should therefore try to follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni and not make a futile effort to reach other planets by mechanical means. Maharaj Yudhishthir was a pious king and therefore he could see Narad Muni occasionally. Anyone who desires to see Narad Muni must first become pious by following the footsteps of Narad Muni. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport to the first canto, 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. And the 14th is very extraordinary. This is disappearance of Lord Krishna. We will begin tomorrow. Any question related to this chapter? Any discussion? Anything you want to share? Manoram Prabhu, let us hear from you. You yesterday went and distributed to the hostel. You have to go often. How did you feel when you went and you interacted with those students? What was your experience?
Prabhuji, this is the first time students they are here in the hostel, and they're very much enthusiastic, Prabhuji. So many are interested. Some are hesitating. Some very recently joined juniors. So I asked other students to interact with them, and gradually we'll build up a relationship, Prabhuji, because to them I was not introduced, but those who are little bit elderly, so with them I took some classes also. So they are interested, Prabhuji, and I think with staff also I'll go and ask for them, Prabhuji.
That is my request. That once you have started, see, this is how preaching begins. We have to come out of our own elaborate ego that we have built up around us. If we are able to burst that ego bubble and come out and do service, gradually we will see reciprocation of Krishna. But that is the most troubling part, because our ego, our mind is not permitting us. And every time we end up following the mind, not following what acharyas are speaking. So my request to every one of you is that please go out and distribute books. Don't remain inside. If you remain in your comfort zone, then you will never be able to do any service. There is no service possible in comfort zone. Service means that we depend on mercy. Why? Because we make effort, but the result is not in our hand. Okay, any question or any discussion on this chapter? Discuss 60 verses. Who has the next presentation? Ramya, आपका presentation है ना?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Can you give the presentation tomorrow?
Yes, Prabhuji.
or day after tomorrow. Tomorrow is Ekadashi, so you chant. I don't want you to, compromise on your rounds. So you chant tomorrow, and day after tomorrow you give the presentation. Yours will
Yes.
be the 5th chapter. आपका 5th chapter है?
6th chapter प्रभु जी
6th.
जी
6th. Okay, who has 7th? Manoram, you have noted?
Yes, Prabhuji. I'll just check, Prabhuji.
Okay. You give them, a reminder that they should be ready with their presentations. In 1 day notice, we will ask them. Tomorrow we will begin the 14th chapter, and then on Wednesday, Ramya Mataji will give her presentation.
Next is Madan Saru Prabhuji, Prabhuji 7.
So you give him a message that you please be ready.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. And 8th is Sonika or Pranav.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sanika Mataji, yes.
8th and 9th is Pranav.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And who's 10th?
And 9th is Pranav Prabhu.
And Manini Mataji is 10th.
10th yes प्रभु जी
ओके, आप प्रिपेयर कर लीजिएगा, मुझे बाद में ये मत बोलिएगा कि टाइम नहीं मिला। आपको 2 महीने टाइम दिया, लगभग 2
जी
महीना
प्रभु जी
ठीक है। ठीक है, तो मैं आज जल्दी समाप्त करता हूँ। कल एकादशी है, जल्दी सो जाइए, कल जल्दी उठिए, और जो इनिशिएटेड भक्त है कम से कम 32 माला करने का प्रयास करिए। हमारा बेंचमार्क हमेशा ज्यादा होना चाहिए। 25 तो मिनिमम है ना। क्या महाराज ने ये बोला कि 25 मैक्सिमम राउंड चैंट करना? तो हमने कई बार कहा है, अगर पासिंग मार्क 40 होता है तो जो स्टूडेंट बोलता है मुझे बस खाली 40 मार्क्स मिल जाए, बस मेरा एग्जाम देने का केवल एक ही पर्पस है कि मेरे को 40 नंबर मिल जाए। हाँ, स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में हम यही कर रहे हैं। मिनिमम 32, नो लेस। जल्दी सो जाओ, सुबह जल्दी उठो, मत खाओ। अगर आप नहीं खाते हैं तो आपका राउंड फटाफट होगा। खाने वाने के बाद कुछ नहीं होगा, फिर तो उसके बाद मोड्स इन्फ्लुएंस करना शुरू कर देते हैं। ठीक है, थैंक यू वेरी मच। प्रदीप, आपने मुझे अभी तक भेजा नहीं है डिस्पैच। हाँ, आप क्या सोच रहे हो, मैराथन ऐसे ही ओवर हो जाए? व्हाट आर यू डूइंग? And distribute. This time go out and distribute. You saw the photograph of Manoram Prabhu?
Yes.
You are also in a college, na?
Yes, sir.
Then what is the difficulty? The government now, yesterday we had one very big program in our temple. It was organized by the Punjabi Bagh devotees. That was Olympiad. They have Gita Olympiad. More than 2 lakh students participated. And the government of India, one of the ministers came. Yesterday was the closing ceremony, the final ceremony. So everywhere the government people are helping, supporting. Why we are hesitating? So please give up this hesitation and please engage in, at least the attempt should be 100%. What result comes, none of our business. But at least the attempt should be there. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. So those who are in the east, Manoram, you said that tomorrow is not Ekadashi for you in that zone. Nirmala Mataji, आप लोग कब कर रहे हैं एकादशी?
परसों है प्रभु जी
27 को कर
हाँ, ठीक है, ठीक है। तो ईस्टर्न जोन में 27th है और नॉर्दर्न जोन में 20th. Pradeep, when are you observing?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Fine then. So please follow the local temple. If you are in Bangalore, you please check what the Bangalore temple devotees are doing. Have you checked with them, Pradeep Prabhu?
Yes, bro. Yes, bro. They send a message.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.